Captain Lee Minho stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride and watched the stars bend around his ship. The faster-than-light drive hummed quietly beneath his feet. After 300 years of dreaming about the stars, humans had finally learned how to reach them. Now they were about to meet the neighbors. "Captain, we're getting close to the jump point," said his navigator, Lieutenant Park Ji-woo. She was young, maybe 25, with bright eyes full of hope. Like most scientists on this mission, she believed they were about to make history in the best possible way. Minho was not so sure. He had spent 20 years in Earth's military before becoming a diplomat. He had seen what happened when two groups met for the first time. It did not always end with handshakes and peace treaties. "Any word from Earth?" he asked. Commander Kim Hyeri, his security chief, looked up from her station. "The same message as yesterday, sir. Make friends. Don't start a war. Try not to embarrass the human race." Minho almost smiled. Trust the politicians to make it sound simple. Meet aliens who had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Convince them that humans deserved a seat at the big table. What could go wrong? The message had come 6 months ago. It appeared on every communication device on Earth at the same time. The translation was perfect, which should have been impossible. The aliens had been watching humanity for decades, learning their languages, studying their culture. "Greetings, people of Earth. You have achieved faster-than-light travel. This grants you the right to request membership in the Galactic Assembly. If you wish to join the community of civilized worlds, send representatives to Assembly Station above the planet Nexus Prime. You have 1 standard year to respond." The message was signed by something called the High Council of the Galactic Assembly. It listed 12 different species as members. Humanity was being invited to make it 13. Earth's governments had spent 3 months arguing about who to send. The Americans wanted to send their best general. The Chinese wanted their top diplomat. The Europeans wanted a scientist. In the end, they compromised. They sent Captain Lee Minho, a former soldier who had learned to talk instead of fight. "Drop us out of hyperspace," Minho ordered. The stars stopped bending. Space returned to normal. And there, hanging in the void like a metal moon, was Assembly Station. Minho had seen pictures, but the real thing took his breath away. The station was huge, maybe 50 kilometers across. It looked like someone had taken a dozen different cities and stuck them together in space. Towers twisted up from the main body like metal trees. Ships moved around it like insects around a flower. "My God," whispered Dr. Park Ji-woo, the mission's chief scientist. She was staring at the main screen with her mouth open. "How many people live there?" "The files say about 10 million, said Kim Hyeri. "From all 12 species." "Incoming transmission," reported the communications officer. The main screen changed. A face appeared that was almost human, but not quite. The skin was pale blue, and the eyes were too large. When it spoke, the words came out in perfect English. "Human vessel Soul's Pride, you are cleared to dock at Platform 7. Follow the guide beacons. Do not deviate from the assigned path. Welcome to Assembly Station." The transmission ended. "Friendly," said Kim Hyeri with a dry tone. The docking process took an hour. The station's traffic control guided them through a maze of other ships. Minho saw vessels that looked like living creatures next to others that seemed made of pure light. His own ship, built with humanity's best technology, looked like a metal box by comparison. Platform 7 was designed for their ship's size, which meant the aliens had been expecting them. That was either very good or very bad. Minho could not decide which. Ambassador Choi Sung-min was waiting by the airlock. He was 70 years old and had spent his entire career solving problems between countries. Now he would try to solve problems between species. "Ready, Ambassador?" Minho asked. "As ready as one can be for the impossible," Choi replied. He straightened his diplomatic uniform and checked his translation device one more time. The airlock opened. The corridor beyond was wide enough for a truck and filled with breathable air. Lights in the ceiling showed them the way forward. Every few meters, signs appeared in dozens of different scripts. One of them was in Korean. They walked for 10 minutes before reaching a large chamber. Minho had expected something like the United Nations building on Earth. Instead, he found himself in what looked like an enormous garden. Plants from a dozen worlds grew in careful patterns. Water fell in impossible spirals through the air. and waiting for them were the aliens. 12 different species stood in a semicircle. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Minho's brain had trouble understanding what he was seeing. One appeared to be made of living crystal. Another looked like a cloud of gas held together by force fields. In the center stood the one who had spoken to them on the ship. The pale blue humanoid stepped forward and bowed slightly. "I am High Counselor Vexthul of the Kelthani people. Welcome to Assembly Station. Please introduce yourselves." Ambassador Choi stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Choi Sung-min, representing the United Earth Government. This is Captain Lee Minho, commander of our vessel, and Dr. Park Ji-woo, our chief." "Scientist!" "Humans," said Vexthul, like he was testing the word. "Yes, we have been watching your species for some time. Most interesting. Please, be seated. We have much to discuss." Chairs appeared from the floor, shaped to fit human bodies. The aliens had done their homework. "We understand you wish to join the Galactic Assembly," continued Vexthul. "This is not a simple matter. Membership requires certain standards of civilization." "We believe humanity meets those standards," said Ambassador Choi carefully. A sound came from the assembled aliens. It took Minho a moment to realize they were laughing. "Forgive us," said Vexthul, though he did not sound sorry. "Your species is very young. You have only just learned to travel between stars. Most of our members have been doing so for millennia." "Age does not determine worth," said Dr. Park Ji-woo. Her voice was steady, but Minho could see anger in her eyes. "Of course not," agreed a new voice. One of the crystal beings spoke, its words chiming like bells. "But experience matters. Tell us, humans, what can you offer the Assembly?" Ambassador Choi had prepared for this question. "We offer our knowledge, our culture, our perspective. Humanity has achieved much in a short time. We have ended war between our nations. We have solved problems of hunger and disease. We have learned to work together as one species." "Admirable," said Vexthul, "but other species have done the same. What makes humans special?" The question hung in the air. Minho found himself thinking of Earth's history. Wars, suffering, mistakes, but also growth, learning, never giving up. "We survive," he said quietly. The aliens turned to look at him. "Explain," said Vexthul. "Humans have faced extinction many times. Climate change, wars, diseases, resource depletion. Each time, we found a way to survive. We adapt. We overcome. We never surrender." More laughter from the aliens. "Survival is basic," said the crystal being. "All species survive, or they cease to exist." "Tell us about your military capabilities," said a new voice. This alien looked like a giant insect, all sharp angles and gleaming chitin. "What weapons do you possess?" Ambassador Choi shifted uncomfortably. "We prefer to focus on peaceful cooperation." "But you must have weapons," pressed the insect alien. "How do you resolve conflicts?" "We negotiate," said Ambassador Choi. "We find peaceful solutions." The laughter was louder this time. "How delightfully primitive," said Vexthul. "But what if negotiation fails? What if an enemy attacks you?" Captain Minho felt something cold settle in his stomach. These were not academic questions. "We defend ourselves," he said. "With what?" asked the insect alien. "We have studied your military history. Chemical explosives, kinetic projectiles, nuclear weapons of limited yield. Amusing but hardly threatening to a spacefaring civilization." The crystal being chimed again. "Your largest ships carry weapons that could barely scratch our smallest courier vessels. Your soldiers fight with metal bullets and simple lasers. How quaint." Dr. Park Ji-woo's face was red with anger. "Our technology may be different, but it is effective. For fighting among yourselves, perhaps," said Vexthul. "But this is the galaxy, young humans. Here, real power is measured in antimatter yields and gravitational manipulators. Your weapons are toys." The meeting continued for 2 more hours. The aliens asked questions about human culture, technology, and society. They nodded politely at the answers. They smiled at human achievements. And through it all, Minho could see the condescension in their eyes. Finally, Vexthul stood. We have heard enough. The High Council will consider your request for membership. We will contact you with our decision within one standard month. Ambassador Choi stood as well. Thank you for your time and consideration. One more thing, said Vexilthul as the humans prepared to leave. The Assembly has decided to offer humanity junior membership status. You would be welcome to observe our proceedings and learn from our example. In time, perhaps full membership might be possible. Junior membership? Asked Dr. Park Ji-woo. A protectorate, explained the crystal being. You would be protected and guided by more advanced species until you reach an appropriate level of development. 6 months had passed since the meeting at Assembly Station. Captain Lee Min-ho, now promoted to Admiral, stood in the war room beneath Geneva. The screens around him showed the positions of every human ship in space. There were not many. How long do we have? Asked President Nam So-young. She was a small woman with steel in her voice. She had been elected 3 years ago on a platform of unity and exploration. Now she faced the possibility of humanity's extinction. The alien fleet will reach our outer colonies in 2 weeks, reported Admiral Yoon Do-hyun. He was the head of Earth's Unified Defense Force, a man who had spent his career preparing for wars that never came. Our forces at Kepler Station will be the first to face them. The ultimatum had arrived 1 week ago. Like the first message, it appeared on every communication device on Earth simultaneously. The translation was perfect. The meaning was clear. People of Earth. The Galactic Assembly has considered your request for membership. Your species shows promise, but lacks the discipline necessary for civilized society. You will surrender all territorial claims beyond your home system. You will accept assembly governance of your colonies. You will submit to periodic inspections to ensure compliance with galactic law. You have 7 standard days to comply. Resistance will result in pacification. The message was signed by Councillor Grimtar of the Vorthak Dominion. Intelligence reports suggested he led the militant faction within the Assembly, the same faction that had been pushing for aggressive expansion. President Nam looked around the room. Options? We could try to negotiate, suggested Dr. Park Ji-woo. She had returned from Assembly Station, a changed woman. The bright idealism was gone, replaced by careful realism. Send another diplomatic mission. They're not interested in talking, said Admiral Lee Min-ho. This ultimatum proves it. They want submission, not cooperation. Then we fight, said Admiral Yoon firmly. With what? The question came from Defense Minister Kang Ji-soo. She was looking at the tactical displays with obvious dismay. Our entire fleet consists of 47 ships. The aliens are bringing over 300. Their smallest vessel outguns our largest. The numbers were depressing. Humanity had built its space fleet for exploration and colony support, not warfare. The ships were tough and reliable, but they carried mining lasers and cargo containers, not weapons of war. We have some advantages, said Engineer Oh Seung-jae. He was the head of the Military Research Division, a quiet man who spoke only when he had something important to say. Our ships are harder to detect. The aliens use high-energy signatures for everything. They'll see our vessels as barely registering. On their sensors. Stealth won't help against those numbers, said Admiral Yoon. Maybe not, agreed Oh Seung-jae. But it might let us get close enough to hurt them. President Nam turned to Admiral Lee. You've met these aliens. What do you think? Lee considered the question carefully. They're arrogant. They see us as primitive children who need to be taught a lesson. That arrogance could be a weakness. How? They expect us to fight like them. Long-range energy weapons, orderly formations, civilized warfare with rules. Lee's voice hardened. We don't have to be civilized. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what he meant. You're talking about total war, said Dr. Park quietly. I'm talking about survival, Lee replied. The aliens want to judge us by their standards. Maybe it's time to show them what human standards look like. 3 days later, the Assembly's demonstration of power arrived via quantum transmission. The video showed an asteroid the size of Earth's moon being destroyed by a single alien warship. The asteroid simply ceased to exist, consumed by energies that turned matter into light. The message was clear. This is what happens to those who resist. President Nam called an emergency session of the Global Council. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered in the same room where humanity had once debated climate change and resource allocation. Now they debated extinction. "We cannot fight this," said the representative from the European Federation. "We must consider surrender." "Surrender to what?" demanded the delegate from the African Union. "They want to control our colonies, our people, our future." "Better controlled than dead," replied the European. Admiral Lee stood to address the council. 700 years ago, my ancestors faced an invasion from across the sea. The enemy had better weapons, more soldiers, superior technology. They offered terms: submit or die. The room was quiet. My ancestors chose to fight. They lost every major battle. They were driven into the mountains, but they never surrendered. Eventually, the invaders left, not because they were defeated, but because the cost of victory was too high. "This is different," said the European representative. "These aliens can destroy planets." "Yes," agreed Lee, "but they still have to catch us first." The debate continued for hours. In the end, the vote was close. Humanity would resist. The margin was 5 votes. As the delegates filed out, President Nam approached Admiral Lee. "I hope you know what you're doing." "I know what happens if we don't try," Lee replied. "We become pets. Our children grow up as servants to aliens who see them as amusing primitives." That night, engineer Oh Sung-jae worked in his laboratory beneath the Swiss mountains. Around him, teams of scientists and engineers labored on humanity's last hope. Project Prometheus had been conceived 6 months ago when the first diplomatic mission returned with troubling news. The project was simple in concept, impossible in execution. Build a warship that could face the alien fleet. Not win, that was beyond current human technology, but hurt them. Make them bleed. Show them that humanity would not go quietly into subjugation. "How's the reactor integration coming?" Oh asked. His assistant, Dr. Lim Tae-hyung. "The quantum calculations are holding," Lim replied. "We can maintain FTL capability while the weapons are active. It shouldn't be possible, but the math works." "Good. What about the kinetic systems?" "Loaded and tested. Tungsten penetrators magnetically accelerated to 0.9 light speed. If we can get close enough, they'll punch through anything." Oh nodded. The Incheon Fury was taking shape in the construction bay. From the outside, it looked like any other human ship. Crude, blocky, unimpressive. The aliens monitoring its construction, through their spy networks, would see exactly what they expected to see. They would not see the massive nuclear reactor that served as both power source and bomb. They would not detect the kinetic weapons designed to be invisible until impact. They would not understand the psychological warfare systems that could broadcast across all frequencies simultaneously. Most importantly, they would not realize that every primitive aspect of the ship was carefully calculated. Humans had spent centuries learning how to fight enemies with superior technology. The Incheon Fury represented all those hard-learned lessons. As the alien fleet approached human space, panic spread through the outer colonies. Some colonists tried to evacuate. Others prepared to surrender. A few, mainly military veterans and their families, prepared to fight. On Kepler Station, the furthest human outpost, Station Commander Han Minji received her final orders from Earth. Her small defense force consisted of 3 patrol ships and a handful of military volunteers. Against the approaching alien armada, they would last perhaps 10 minutes. "New contacts on long-range sensors," reported her sensor operator. 50-plus capital ships, approaching on Vector 77 Mark 12. Han looked at the tactical display. The alien fleet was massive, a constellation of energy signatures that dwarfed anything in human space. At the center was a ship that registered as being the size of a small city. Time to contact? 18 hours at current speed. Han activated the station's communication system. "This is Kepler Station to all human vessels in the area. Enemy fleet approaching. All civilian ships are ordered to evacuate immediately. Military. Vessels will form a defensive line at coordinates Alpha 77. She did not mention that the defensive line would delay the aliens by perhaps an hour. Every minute counted now. On Earth, President Nam made her final address to the planet. "Citizens of Earth and our colonies beyond, in 18 hours, we will face an enemy that sees us as primitives to be conquered. They offer us the choice between Submission and destruction. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Humanity has faced this choice before. We have been invaded, conquered, enslaved. Each time, we have found the strength to rise again. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the smartest or the most advanced. But we are the most stubborn. Another pause. To the aliens listening to this broadcast, you want to see what humans are capable of? You're about to find out. To our people in space, give them hell. The transmission ended. In the depths of space, the alien fleet continued its advance. High Admiral Zekrian of the Assembly Fleet reviewed the intelligence reports from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. Human military capabilities were laughable. Their largest ships carried weapons equivalent to ancient chemical rockets. Their soldiers fought with projectile weapons and simple explosives. This will be over quickly, he told his staff. A few demonstrations of superior firepower, and they will surrender. The Assembly prefers to avoid unnecessary destruction. His tactical officer, a young Kelthani named Velterra, studied the sensor readings. Sir, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures from human space. Bly, the Incheon Fury hung in space like a metal coffin. Captain Han Minji walked through its corridors, checking systems that had never been tested in combat. In 6 hours, she would take this ship into battle against odds that no human had ever faced. Final weapons check complete, reported engineer Oh Seung-jae over the ship's communication system. All kinetic launchers loaded, nuclear charges armed, FTL drives synchronized with targeting computers. Han nodded to her crew. 200 volunteers from every branch of Earth's military. They knew this was likely a one-way mission. They had volunteered anyway. Any word from the outer colonies? She asked. Lieutenant Bae Jinwan, her communications officer, shook his head. Kepler Station went dark 3 hours ago. No survivors reported. The alien fleet had swept through, human space like a cosmic storm. Kepler Station had lasted exactly 7 minutes against the alien advance. The 3 patrol ships defending it had been destroyed so quickly that they barely had time to fire their weapons. But those 7 minutes had given Earth valuable intelligence. The alien ships fought exactly as expected. They stayed in formation, used energy weapons at long range, and followed predictable tactical patterns. They fought like a superior force against an inferior enemy. They were about to learn that humans did not fight fair. Captain, called Dr. Lim Tae-hyung from the science station. I'm reading massive energy signatures approaching the Sol system. The main alien fleet will be here in 4 hours. Han studied the tactical display. 51 alien ships, led by a massive flagship that dwarfed anything humans had ever built. The smallest enemy vessel was 3 times larger than the Incheon Fury. Have they detected us yet? Negative. We're running silent, just like you ordered. They probably think we're debris. That was the plan. The Incheon Fury looked like a typical human cargo hauler from the outside. Its armor was crude metal, plating. Its weapons were hidden inside what appeared to be cargo containers. Its nuclear reactor was shielded to look like a simple fusion plant. The aliens had been watching human ship construction for months through their spy networks. They had seen exactly what they expected to see. Another primitive human vessel, barely worthy of notice. They had not seen the revolutionary weapon systems hidden beneath that crude exterior. They had not detected the experimental FTL drive that could engage while weapons were active. Most importantly, they had not realized that the ship's most dangerous weapon was the crew's willingness to die for their species. Message from Earth Command, reported Bae Jinwan. Admiral Yoon Do-hyun's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, the lights of Earth's orbital defense platforms glowed like stars. Captain Han, you are authorized to engage the enemy at your discretion. Give them a demonstration they won't forget. Understood, Admiral, Han replied. We'll make them remember this day. The transmission ended. Han turned to address her crew. You all know why we're here. The aliens think humans are primitives who got lucky with FTL technology. They think our weapons are toys. They think we'll surrender when faced with superior force. She paused, looking at the faces around her. Young and old, men and women, soldiers and scientists, all united by one thing. They refused to kneel. They're about to learn what happens when you underestimate the human race. Today, we show them that some things are worth dying for. Today, we show them that humans don't surrender," the crew responded, with grim determination. They had trained for this moment for months. They knew their ship, their weapons, their enemy. They were ready. In the depths of space, the alien fleet approached Earth with casual confidence. High Admiral Zekrian studied the tactical displays from his flagship's command center. Human resistance had been pathetic so far. A few patrol ships destroyed, some orbital installations disabled, no serious opposition. "Any sign of the human fleet?" he asked his tactical officer. "Scattered ships throughout the system," reported Veltara. "Most appear to be evacuation vessels or cargo haulers. No significant military presence detected." "Good. Send the surrender demand. Let's finish this quickly." The message went out on all frequencies. "Humans of Earth, your outer defenses have been eliminated. Surrender now and accept assembly authority. Continued resistance will result in the pacification of your planet." The response came from Earth's Orbital Command Center. "This is Admiral Yoon Do-hyun of the Earth Defense Force. Your surrender demand is rejected. Earth stands free." Zekrian sighed. These humans were stubborn. He had to give them that. "Very well. Begin bombardment of military targets. Minimal civilian casualties. We want a functional colony, not a wasteland." The alien fleet began to spread out, preparing to establish orbital control. Their massive ships moved with the confidence of absolute superiority. Energy shields glowed around their hulls. Weapon ports opened to reveal devastating firepower. They never saw the Incheon fury coming. Han's ship had been drifting with its systems powered down, looking like space debris. Now it came alive like a sleeping predator. The crude-looking armor. Plates fell away, revealing weapon systems that the aliens had never seen before. "All stations, battle stations," Han announced calmly. "Target the flagship. Let's introduce ourselves properly." The Incheon Fury engaged its experimental FTL drive in microsecond bursts, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. The alien sensors, designed to track high-energy signatures, lost the ship completely between jumps. "What in the void?" Zekrian stared at his tactical display as contact with the human ship flickered in and out of existence. "How are they doing that?" "Unknown, sir," replied Veltara. "Their energy signature is almost negligible. It's like they're not really there." That was when the Incheon Fury opened fire. The kinetic weapons were invisible until impact. Tungsten. Rods accelerated to near-light speed, struck the alien flagship's shields like hammers of God. The energy barriers that could deflect particle beams and plasma bolts were useless against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The first salvo punched clean through the shield generators. The second salvo struck the ship's hull, tearing gaps in armor that had never been breached by enemy fire. "Impossible," whispered Zekrian as damage reports flooded his command center. "Their weapons are primitive. How are they penetrating our defenses?" The answer was simple. Human weapons were primitive. That was exactly what made them effective. The aliens had designed their defenses to stop energy weapons and guided missiles. They had never considered that someone might simply throw rocks at them very, very fast. "All ships, engage the human vessel," ordered Zekrian. "Destroy it immediately." 50 alien warships turned their weapons toward the Incheon Fury. Energy beams lanced through space, each one capable of vaporizing a human city. But they all struck empty space. The human ship had vanished again, jumping away at faster than light speed. It reappeared behind the alien formation, weapons blazing. "Multiple contacts launching from the human ship," reported Veltara. "Small craft, maybe fighters." Lieutenant Bei Jinwan led his squadron of modified fighters away from the Incheon Fury. The small ships used cold gas thrusters and maintained radio silence, making them nearly invisible to alien sensors designed to track high-energy signatures. Each fighter carried a single nuclear warhead and a pilot with nothing to lose. "Remember the plan," Bei transmitted on a tightly focused beam. "Get close, plant the charges, get out if you can. If you can't, make it count." The fighters slipped through the alien formation like ghosts. The enemy ships were so focused on trying to track the Incheon Fury that they never noticed the tiny craft attaching explosive charges to their hulls. When the charges detonated, 3 alien cruisers disappeared in balls of nuclear fire. "Sir, we're taking heavy casualties," reported Veltara, her voice shaking. "These humans fight like madmen." Zekrian could not argue with that assessment. Every tactical manual in the galaxy said that inferior forces should maintain distance and use superior range to their advantage. The humans were doing the opposite. They were getting close, using crude weapons at point-blank range and somehow making it work. "Focus fire on that ship," he ordered. "All vessels, concentrate on the primary target." The alien fleet tried to surround the Incheon Fury, but the human ship refused to cooperate. It jumped in and out of FTL space, appearing just long enough to deliver devastating attacks before vanishing again. Each appearance left another alien ship damaged or destroyed. Captain Han felt her ship shudder as alien weapons found their mark. Hull breaches vented atmosphere into space. The reactor was running beyond safe parameters. Half her crew was dead or wounded, but they were winning. "Captain, we've lost main engines," reported Oh Sung-jae. "Hull integrity is down to 40%. We can't take much more of this." Han looked at the tactical display. 23 alien ships destroyed, 17 more damaged, but her ship was dying, and the enemy still outnumbered her. "Time to end this," she said quietly. She activated the ship's communications system, broadcasting on all frequencies. "Attention, alien fleet. This is Captain Han Minji of the Earth vessel Incheon Fury. You came here expecting easy victory over primitive humans. How's that working out for you?" Zekrian's reply came immediately. "Human, your ship is crippled. Surrender, and we will show mercy." Han laughed. "Mercy? You came to conquer our world. You threatened our children. You expected us to kneel." The Busan Thunder drifted in the darkness between stars, its hull scarred from 3 months of guerrilla warfare. Captain Park Ji-woo studied the tactical display showing the alien fleet's position. 60 ships, heavily armed and angry. They had been hunting human vessels across 5 star systems, and now they thought they had found easy prey. They were about to be proven wrong. "Signal from Admiral Lee," reported Communications Officer Kim Hyeri. "All units are in position. We have the green light." Ji-woo nodded. This was the largest human fleet assembled since the war began. 15 ships, each one a weapon of desperation built from salvaged alien technology and human stubbornness. They were outnumbered 4-1, but numbers meant nothing when you refused to lose. "All stations, prepare for battle," Ji-woo announced. "Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to survive an unfair one." The battle that became known as the fight at Void Ring had been 3 weeks in the making. Human intelligence had learned that Assembly Fleet Commander Thaknor was bringing his entire battle group through this system. It was a chance to hurt the aliens badly, maybe even end their invasion. It was also a chance to get every human ship in the sector destroyed. Ji-woo had volunteered anyway, so had every other captain in the fleet. "Enemy fleet entering sensor range," reported sensor operator Lim Tae-hyung. "They're maintaining standard formation. Looks like they haven't spotted us yet." That was the plan. The human ships were running cold, powered down to minimal systems. They looked like asteroids on alien sensors, just more debris in a system, full of space junk. The alien fleet was magnificent and terrifying. Their ships gleamed with energy fields that could deflect any conventional weapon. Their hulls were works of art, smooth curves and elegant lines that spoke of centuries of technological advancement. They were also arrogant. Commander Thaknor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Vengeance. He was a Vorthak, a species that looked like living smoke held together by force fields. His voice carried the authority of someone who had never lost a battle. "Sensor sweep shows no human presence in this system," reported his tactical officer. "We can proceed to the next jump point." "Good," Thaknor replied. "These hit-and-run attacks are becoming tiresome. Once we reach Earth, we can end this nonsense permanently." That was when the asteroid started shooting back. The Busan Thunder came alive first, its weapons systems powering up from 0 to full combat readiness in seconds. Nuclear missiles erupted from hidden launchers, each one guided by human pilots who had nothing left to lose. "All ships engage!" Ji-woo shouted into his communicator. "Give them hell!" 14 other human ships revealed themselves, appearing from behind asteroids and debris fields like predators emerging from ambush. They had been waiting here for 6 days, surviving on emergency rations and recycled air, all for this moment. The alien fleet reacted with shocked confusion. These were not the crude ships they had been fighting for months. These vessels had been modified with captured alien technology, their hulls reinforced with crystalline armor, their weapons upgraded with antimatter charges, but more importantly, they fought like humans. The first wave of nuclear missiles struck the alien formation before their shields could adapt. 3 enemy ships vanished in balls of fire, their elegant hulls unable to survive weapons designed to crack planets. Impossible, breathed Thaknor as damage reports flooded his command center. Where did they get antimatter weapons? The answer was simple. They had taken them from destroyed alien ships, studied them, and built crude but effective copies. What the aliens called impossible, humans called Tuesday. All ships, return fire, ordered Thaknor. Destroy these vermin. The alien fleet responded with devastating force. Energy beams that could melt mountains lanced through space, striking human ships with the power of dying stars. But the humans had learned from previous battles. They did not stay still long enough to be targeted. Captain Yoon Do-yun of the Souls. Hammer watched his tactical display as 3 alien cruisers converged on his position. His ship was outgunned, outmanned, and outclassed. He smiled grimly and ordered his crew to ram speed. "Sir, that's suicide," protested his first officer. "No," Yoon replied calmly. "That's tactics." The Soul's hammer accelerated directly toward the alien ships, its nuclear reactor overloading to provide maximum power. The aliens fired everything they had, but the human ship kept coming. At the last second, Yoon's crew launched every fighter and escape pod, then detonated their reactor at point-blank range. The explosion took all 3 alien ships with it. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out as human ships turned themselves into weapons. The aliens had superior technology, but humans had superior motivation. Every human in this fight was protecting their families, their world, their species' right to exist. The aliens were just following orders. "Sir, we're losing ships faster." "Then we can target them," reported Thaknor's tactical officer, her voice strained with disbelief. "These humans are using suicide tactics." "Then they will die," Thaknor replied, but his confidence was shaking. "Focus fire on their command ship." The alien fleet concentrated its weapons on the Busan Thunder. Captain Jiwoo felt his ship shudder as enemy fire overwhelmed his shields. Hull plates vaporized under the assault, the bridge filled with smoke and sparks. "Captain, hull breach on decks 7 through 12, reported engineer Oh Sung-jae. "We're venting atmosphere fast." "Seal those sections," Jiwoo ordered, "and continue firing." "Sir, there are still crew members in those sections." Jiwoo closed his eyes for a moment. "I know. Seal them anyway." It was the hardest order he had ever given, but this was war, and war demanded impossible choices. The crew members trapped in the sealed sections would die so that the rest of the ship could live long enough to keep fighting. That was what separated humans from the aliens. The aliens fought to win. Humans fought to make the enemy pay for every inch of space, every moment of time, every drop of blood. Lieutenant Bae Jinwan led the last squadron of human fighters through the maze of burning ships. His small craft dodged energy beams and gravitational mines, weaving between alien vessels like an insect among giants. "Target their sensor arrays," he transmitted to his pilots. "Blind them." The fighters dove toward the alien ships, firing everything they had at the delicate sensor equipment that guided enemy weapons. Most of the pilots died in the assault. Their small ships no match for point defense systems. But they succeeded in their mission. Suddenly, the mighty alien fleet was fighting. Blind, Captain Kim Hyeri of the Incheon's Revenge saw her opportunity. Her ship was the smallest in the human fleet, barely larger than a fighter. But it carried a special weapon designed by the best minds on Earth. "Quantum torpedo armed and ready," reported her weapons officer. "Fire," Hyeri ordered. The torpedo was invisible, existing in a state between dimensions. It passed through the alien ship's shields as if they were not there, materializing inside the enemy hull and detonating with the force of a small star. The alien flagship Stellar Vengeance broke apart like a toy. Its commander's final thoughts focused on the impossible sight of humans defeating superior technology through sheer determination. But victory came at a terrible cost. Of the 15 human ships that entered the battle, only 3 survived. Thousands of brave men and women had died to prove that humanity would not surrender. As the surviving alien ships fled the battlefield, Captain Jiwoo surveyed the wreckage around him. Burning hulks drifted in space, human and alien twisted together, in death. The price of freedom was written in metal and fire. "Signal Earth Command," he ordered wearily. "Battle of Void Ring is concluded. Enemy fleet destroyed. Human casualties heavy." The communication went out across human space, carrying news of the victory to every colony and outpost. But it also carried a darker message. This war would not end quickly. It would not end cleanly. It would be won by whoever was willing to pay the highest price, and humans had just proven they were willing to pay any price for freedom. On Assembly Station, the news of the defeat sent shockwaves through the alien government. For the first time in their civilization's history, a primitive species had defeated their finest fleet in open battle. High Counselor Vex Thul called an emergency session of the Assembly. Representatives from 12 species gathered to discuss the impossible. "How is this possible?" demanded Counselor Rixtar of the Kelthani. "These humans use crude weapons and simple tactics. They should not be able to defeat our forces." "Perhaps that is exactly why they are defeating us," suggested Counselor Veltara quietly. "We have become accustomed to fighting civilized enemies who follow established rules of engagement. The humans do not follow rules." "They fight like animals," snarled Rixtar. "No," corrected Veltara. "They fight like a species that refuses to become extinct. That makes them more dangerous than any weapon we possess." The debate continued for hours, but the conclusion was unavoidable. The Assembly faced a choice: escalate the war to total destruction, or find a way to make peace with these impossible humans. For the first time in generations, the mighty Galactic Assembly was considering retreat. In the depths of space, the wreckage of the Battle of Void Ring drifted silent and cold. But among the debris, human escape pods transmitted their location, carrying survivors who would live to fight another. Ambassador Park Jiwoo walked through the corridors of Assembly Station for the second time in her life. The first visit had been as a young scientist, full of hope for peaceful contact. Now she returned as Earth's chief negotiator, her idealism tempered by 2 years of war. The station looked the same, but everything had changed. Where before alien representatives had looked at humans with amused condescension, now she saw something different in their eyes: respect, and perhaps a little fear. "The Assembly Council will see you now," said the Kelthani escort, its translator, rendering the words in perfect Korean. The insectoid being's tone was formal, polite. No trace of the mocking arrogance from their first meeting. The council chamber had been modified since her last visit. Additional seating had been added, and the arrangement was more circular, less hierarchical. Small changes, but significant ones. The Assembly was no longer dictating terms to primitives. They were negotiating with equals. Counselor Veltara of the Nexari rose to greet her. The crystalline being's body chimed softly as she moved, a sound that Jiwoo had learned indicated formal respect. "Ambassador Park, welcome back to Assembly Station. Please, be seated. We have much to discuss." Jiwoo took her place at the negotiating table. Around her sat representatives of the 12 founding species of the Assembly, beings whose civilizations spanned millennia. 6 months ago, they had treated humanity as upstart children. Today, they were here to discuss peace terms. The war had changed everything. News of humanity's victories had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The Battle of Void Ring had been followed by 3 more engagements, each one proving that human determination could overcome technological superiority. But more importantly, other species had begun to take notice. The Torvaki Republic had declared independence from Assembly protection, citing humanity's example. The Mineral Syndicate of Kepler's Rest had refused to provide resources for the war effort. Even some Assembly member species were beginning to question whether the old order still served their interests. "Before we begin formal negotiations," said Veltara, "the Assembly wishes to express our respect for the courage shown by your species. Your people have fought with honor." Jiwoo nodded politely. "Thank you, Counselor, but we would prefer to discuss terms rather than past battles." Of course, agreed Veltara. The Assembly is prepared to offer the following terms: complete recognition of human sovereignty over all currently occupied territories, full membership in the Assembly with all rights and privileges, and a formal apology for the misunderstandings that led to this conflict. The offer was generous, far beyond what Earth had dared hope for when the war began. But Jiwoo had learned to read between the lines of diplomatic language. And in exchange? She asked. It was High Counselor Vexthul who answered. The pale blue humanoid looked older than before, worn down by months of military defeats and political turmoil. We ask for your assistance in developing new defensive technologies. Our current systems have proven inadequate against certain types of warfare. Jiwoo almost smiled. The Assembly wanted to learn how to fight like humans. They had discovered that their elegant, civilized approach to warfare was useless against an enemy that refused to follow the rules. We also request, continued Vexthul, that humanity agree to certain limitations on expansion. Some of our member species are concerned about human territorial ambitions. You mean they're afraid we'll do to them what you tried to do to us, Jiwoo said bluntly. The chamber fell silent. In the old days, such directness would have been considered barbaric. Now it was simply honesty. Yes, admitted Veltara. There is some concern about that. Jiwoo considered the offer carefully. Full membership in the Assembly would give humanity access to technologies that could advance their civilization by centuries. But it would also mean accepting limitations on their freedom to explore and expand. I need to consult with my government, she said finally. But I can tell you that humanity is not interested in conquest. We fight only when forced to defend ourselves. We understand, said Vexthul. But perhaps you can understand our position as well. Your species has proven capable of defeating forces that significantly outnumber and outgun them. That capability makes some of our members nervous. The negotiations continued for 3 days. Each session revealed more about how fundamentally the war had changed galactic politics. The Assembly's easy confidence was gone, replaced by careful pragmatism. They had learned that technological superiority meant nothing against an enemy willing to pay any price for victory. On the 3rd day, Jiwoo received a message from Earth. President Kim Hye-jin's response was simple. Accept their terms, but make sure they understand that this is a partnership, not a surrender. The formal signing ceremony took place in the Assembly's Great Hall. Representatives from across the galaxy watched as Ambassador Park Jiwoo affixed her signature to the Treaty of Mutual Recognition. The document established humanity as the 13th member of the Galactic Assembly, with full rights and equal status. But more importantly, it established the humanity doctrine, the principle that military might did not determine a species' right to self-determination. It was a revolutionary concept in galactic politics, and its effects would ripple across the galaxy for generations. After the ceremony, Jiwoo found herself approached by a familiar figure. Counselor Veltara had been one of the few Assembly members to show genuine respect for humanity even during the darkest days of the war. Ambassador, may I speak freely? The crystalline being asked. Of course. When we first met your species, we saw primitive barbarians who had stumbled onto advanced technology. We thought you would be easily dominated or destroyed. Veltara paused, her crystal body chiming softly. We were wrong. You taught us that strength comes not from superior weapons, but from the willingness to use whatever weapons you have in defense of what you believe in. We didn't want to teach anyone anything, Jiwoo replied. We just wanted to survive. That is exactly what made you so dangerous, Veltara said, with what might have been admiration. And so admirable, 6 months later, Admiral Lee Minho stood on the bridge of the new EDS Soul's Pride, watching as human and alien ships conducted joint training exercises. The vessel was a fusion of human and assembly technologies, representing the new cooperation between species. The ship's name was symbolic. The original Soul's Pride had carried the first human diplomatic mission to Assembly Station. This new vessel carried the promise of a different future, one where humanity was respected as an equal partner in galactic civilization. Admiral, called his communications officer, we're receiving a priority message from Earth. Lee activated the main screen. President Kim Hye-jin appeared. her image transmitted across dozens of light years via quantum entanglement. Admiral Lee, I wanted to personally thank you for your service during the war. Your courage and that of everyone who served helped secure humanity's place in the galaxy. Thank you, Madam President, Lee replied. But the real heroes were the ones who didn't come home. They will be remembered, the President assured him. The Prometheus Memorial is nearly complete. Captain Han Minji and all the others will have their names preserved for history. The Prometheus Memorial was being built on Earth, a monument to the human crews who had sacrificed everything for their species' freedom. But similar memorials were being constructed throughout human space, each one carrying the same message. Freedom was worth any price. On Assembly Station, the memorial garden had been expanded to include a section dedicated to human war dead. It was a controversial decision among some Assembly members, but Councillor Veltara had insisted. The inscription, written in every galactic language, read simply, "They came in peace. They were met with contempt. They responded with thunder." Remember, Dr. Lim Tae-hyung walked through the Prometheus Institute on Luna, where human and alien scientists worked side by side on peaceful applications of military technology. The Institute had become a symbol of the new galactic order, proving that cooperation was possible between very different species. "How's the new project coming?" asked his assistant, a young Kelthani named Zixara. "Better than expected," Lim replied, studying the quantum calculations on his screen. "The FTL communication array should be ready for testing next month. Real-time conversations across the galaxy." It was ironic, he thought. The same quantum principles that had made human weapons so effective were now being used to bring the galaxy closer together. War had taught them how to destroy. Peace was teaching them how to build. 5 years after the war's end, Ambassador Park Ji-woo stood before a mixed class of human and alien students at the Galactic University. Her hair was beginning to show gray at the temples, a reminder of the stress and responsibility of helping to negotiate humanity's place in galactic society. "Can anyone tell me the most important lesson of the Human Assembly War?" she asked. A young human student raised her hand. "That technology doesn't determine the outcome of a conflict?" A good answer, but not complete. Anyone else? An alien student, one of the gaseous Vorthak, spoke in its whistling voice. "That underestimating an enemy is a mistake?" Also correct, but still not the whole truth. Ji-woo looked around the classroom, seeing the future of galactic civilization in these young faces.